She dropped her last name, the one that had 8.7 million people following it, the one that had been on every violin cover, every street performance video, every Ellen segment since she was 9 years old. And she replaced it with a name she had been carrying quietly her whole life, one that was hers all along. Her name is Karolina Protsenko. She built one of the largest independent music audiences on YouTube without a record label, a manager from the industry, or a single original song. And in July 2025, she confirmed what her fans had been asking about for years, that she was done being just the violin girl from Santa Monica. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly why that decision was years in the making, what it cost her to make it, and why the answer was hiding in her own name the entire time. It begins in Ukraine, in 2008, in a household where music wasn't a hobby. Her father, Nikolai, played guitar. Her mother, Ella, played piano and sang. Karolina was born into a family that already understood what it meant to build something with an instrument and nothing else. When she was 6 years old, the family left Kiev and moved to California, specifically to Simi Valley, a suburb outside Los Angeles, where a different kind of life was waiting. She began violin lessons almost immediately after arriving. By the time she was 7, the technical foundation was there. But technical skill alone doesn't explain what happened next. What separated Karolina from other trained young musicians was the decision to take the violin outside, to stop performing in recital halls for polite audiences, and start performing on a sidewalk in Santa Monica where strangers owe you nothing. In 2017, when Karolina was 8 years old, the family set up at 3rd Street Promenade, a portable speaker, a backing track, an open stretch of outdoor shopping mall where people walk past without stopping unless something genuinely catches them. She started playing pop covers, songs people already knew and loved, on an instrument they had never heard play those songs before. And people stopped. Not out of politeness, out of surprise. Her mother began filming those performances and posting them to YouTube. The view counts climbed fast, then faster. By the time the algorithm found her, she already had something most creators spend years trying to manufacture. A real audience, built one stranger at a time, on a California sidewalk. And if you think going viral as a 9-year-old is the most remarkable part of this story, stay with me because this next part is why the whole story matters. The growth after 2017 moved in a direction that very few online musicians manage. It wasn't just that her videos accumulated views. It was that the audience kept returning. Cover after cover, year after year. Queen, Post Malone, Celine Dion, Hans Zimmer. She translated them all through the violin with a level of emotional delivery that made people forget they were watching a child. By 2019, Ellen DeGeneres had taken notice. Karolina appeared on the show, playing Post Malone's Sunflower, while Ellen watched from the front row. Ellen gifted her a branded violin and a tip jar stuffed with cash, the same kind Karolina had been putting out on the Santa Monica pavement. The symbolism wasn't subtle. This girl had turned a street corner into a career, and now the career was sitting inside one of America's biggest television studios. She returned to television in 2022, this time on The Kelly Clarkson Show, performing alongside Lindsey Sterling, the very violinist who had inspired Karolina to pick up the instrument in the first place. That moment meant something beyond the performance itself. Standing next to your own inspiration, on a national stage, at 13 years old, is a specific kind of confirmation. But across every comment section, across every fan forum, one question kept repeating. It wasn't about technique. It wasn't about which cover to do next. It was always some version of the same thing. When are you going to write your own music? For years, there was no answer, and the silence made the question louder. Here's what the comments kept asking, and here's the answer they never got, until now. By 2024, Karolina had over 8.6 million subscribers on her main violin channel alone. She had additional channels, one for singing, one for vlogs, each with their own audiences. She had performed Mendelssohn's Violin Concerto with the Los Angeles Chamber Orchestra, debuting one of the most technically demanding pieces in the classical repertoire with a professional ensemble. That is not something you do as a novelty. That is something you do because you have spent years preparing for it. But even as the classical milestones stacked up, the conversation in her community kept returning to original music. The speculation had been building for some time, not based on anything confirmed, but on observable patterns. She had started a separate vocal channel. She had begun sharing more personal footage. Her content was slowly shifting in tone, from pure performance to something closer to a personal diary. Some fans believed she was preparing to leave the violin behind entirely. Others were convinced the name change was coming, that performing under the Protsenko name would eventually feel too limiting for what she was clearly building toward. Neither side had any actual evidence. It was all reading between the lines of a 16-year-old's YouTube uploads. Then, on July 14, 2025, the reading between the lines became unnecessary. Most people who know this story stop here, but the real story starts right now. She posted to Instagram and YouTube on the same day. The announcement was not framed as a rebrand by a management team. It was personal, direct, and immediate. Karolina explained that she would now be releasing all original music under the name Karolina Rose. And then she said the thing that made the entire fan community stop scrolling. Rose is actually my middle name, and I'm so excited to step into this new chapter. The name had been there the entire time, not invented for the occasion, not chosen by a label or a consultant, pulled from her own identity, the middle name she had been carrying since birth, quietly waiting for the right moment to mean something public. The reaction was swift. Some fans immediately understood what it signaled. Others pushed back, asking whether this meant the violin was finished, whether the covers were ending, whether the girl they had followed since 2017 was disappearing. Those fears were premature. She was not abandoning Karolina Protsenko. She was expanding her. The violin channel kept posting. The covers kept coming. But alongside it, something new was being built, and it had a different name because it required a different identity. And that's when the decision was made, the one nobody around her saw coming. 6 weeks after the announcement, on August 15, 2025, the first single arrived. Advice was released under the name Karolina Rose, on her own label, Protsenko Music Inc., with no major label involvement. She wrote the song herself. At 16 years old, she sat down and composed a track about heartbreak, unrequited love, and the specific kind of clarity that only comes after the fact. The kind of lesson you absorb after something has already gone wrong, not before. The official music video launched the same day on YouTube. It wasn't a performance clip repurposed from a live session. It was a proper music video, shot with intentional visuals, depicting emotional introspection in a way that felt consistent with the tone she had been building for years. The audience response split almost immediately. Long-term followers who had watched her since the Santa Monica days expressed genuine surprise, not at the quality, but at the vulnerability. This was not Karolina interpreting someone else's emotion. This was her own. One viewer wrote that the song sounded like a letter they had needed. Another described the shift from violin to voice as moving from hope to healing. Whether or not those responses were what she expected, they confirmed something the numbers alone could not. The audience was willing to follow her into new territory. A second single followed 5 weeks later. Good Girl arrived on September 19, 2025. Higher energy, more direct, with her violin woven into the production alongside contemporary pop elements. 2 singles, 2 music videos, 1 summer. A new name that turned out to be the oldest thing about her. What happened next is the reason this story spread across the internet. What makes Karolina's transition unusual in the creator space is not the stage name or the original music. Artists rebrand constantly. What is unusual is how she has managed to run 2 creative identities in parallel without cannibalizing either one. The Karolina Protsenko violin channel continues to operate. Covers still publish. The subscriber count, which sat at 8.76 million as of early 2026, has continued to grow, slowly but steadily, in the way that channels built on genuine skill and long watch times tend to grow. It is not a channel in decline, it is a catalog. Meanwhile, Karolina Rose is being built as something separate but connected. The pop singles carry violin elements. The visual identity is different, older, more stylized, less tied to the Santa Monica sidewalk aesthetic. But the emotional core is recognizable to anyone who watched those early busking videos. She has simply taken the same sincerity that made strangers stop on a promenade and applied it to songs she wrote herself. Her mother, Ella, who has managed her career from the beginning, present at every performance, visible in countless behind-the-scenes clips, remains involved. This is a family operation that has been that way since 2017, and the transition to original music appears to have been made inside that same structure. The estimated earnings picture reflects a creator at scale. Multiple sources place her net worth somewhere between $2 and $3 menus pick, with YouTube ad revenue alone reportedly generating tens of thousands of dollars monthly across her channels. Those figures are projections, not confirmed disclosures, but they give a rough shape to what 8 years of consistent YouTube output can produce when the content holds retention. She never talked about this publicly, until now. Karolina Protsenko is 17 years old. She is due to complete high school in 2026, and by the time she does, she will have already built a music career that most adults never reach. The question her fans are now asking is not whether she can do this. August and September 2025 answered that. The question is which direction takes priority. Does the classical training that produced a Mendelssohn concerto performance at 15 pull her toward orchestral work? Does the pop identity she has been building under Karolina Rose push toward a full album and touring? Or does she continue to hold both tracks simultaneously, the way she has managed to do throughout every previous phase of her career? What is clear is that the rumors were right. The fans who sensed for years that she was preparing something larger than violin covers were not wrong. The name change was coming. The original music was coming. The decision to claim her own creative identity was always part of the plan. She just needed the moment to say it out loud. That moment was July 14, 2025, in a post that started with the simplest possible truth, that Rose was her middle name, and she was ready for the next chapter. She built 8.7 million subscribers playing other people's music with complete sincerity. Whatever she builds next will be entirely her own. There is a specific kind of courage in walking away from the name that made you famous, especially when you are 16. And that name represents billions of views, millions of subscribers, and years of work. Karolina Protsenko did not destroy what she built. She grew a second identity out of it, using a name she had been carrying her entire life. The next chapter is already in motion. The debut EP under Karolina Rose is expected to expand what the two singles started. The violin channel is not going anywhere, and somewhere in California, the same family that set up a portable speaker on a Santa Monica sidewalk in 2017 is still building, just toward a different stage now. The question worth sitting with is this: do you think Karolina made the right call releasing original music and stepping into a new name? Or was she better off staying exactly where she was,